Okay, I'm gonna get a little technical here, so bear with me. This statement is 100% true. Activation does not necessarily equate to work done. Oftentimes you'll see people talk about this exercise has superior muscle activation to that exercise, therefore it must be better for hypertrophy. The way I like to think about it is that muscle activation like turns on the muscle so it's ready to produce force when doing an exercise, but just activating a muscle like doing isometrics does not yield maximum or efficient or effective hypertrophy. Now it does yield some, but it's not going to optimize it. The problem is EMG is far from the only factor in muscle hypertrophy, and there's even instances where a muscle might show higher EMG activity during a specific exercise but actually yield less hypertrophy than a different exercise with lower EMG activation, because all of the other variables of muscle growth are probably more optimized or more efficient for that individual in the other exercise that does not maximize EMG activation. This is a long way of saying, absent other evidence, EMG activation is a thing to consider when it comes to hypertrophy, and it is important, somewhat. Now, your second point about asking, like, is it an exercise? I assume what you're asking is if you are activating the muscle, but you're not really moving something through a range of motion, or maybe you don't have a load, you're asking if that's not an exercise. Well, it is an exercise. It's called an isometric, but isometrics are not optimal for building muscle or strength unless you're trying to specifically build isometric strength, i.e. trying to increase your maximum plank. So hypertrophy is somewhat complex, but because of the fact that like EMG activity and muscle activation is not something that you can actually measure in your workout as a normal person, I just would not worry about it at all. It's good to talk theoretically when we're going like, well, this exercise works this muscle because it shows EMG activity, but in your actual training, there's many other variables that are much more worth your time to look at. That would be these variables. I'm going to put them somewhere here. Anyway, thanks for the question. Hope I helped or clears some of this up, or maybe I confused you more. Who the fuck knows?